Welcome back to another iRise experience. My name is Devore McIntosh. I deal with the production side on iRise Wellness. And with us today, we have
LaTecia Yarbrough, and I'm founder of iRise Wellness.
Okay. So modest. It's much more than that. But let's today's topic is going to be a little shift from what we normally discuss. We're going to really dive deep into something which for people of color is a pressing topic. It's something which we deal with constantly, and it's about what it is to be masculine and what it is to be feminine, and tapping into those energies and what does it really mean. So we're going to take a look and examine, the tropes, some of the stereotypes, and ways in which we can tap into each other's energies, or whichever energy you would like to tap into, you can. There's no judgment here, but really dive deep into taking a closer look into what it means, and like what it means to be masculine, and like what it means to be feminine, and everything in between. So, LaTecia, what does it mean to be masculine?
I think what it means to be masculine, as for me as a woman, I think what it means to be masculine is being able to control a space, and control a room. And I know that in this virtual world, it's hard to do. But I found that tapping into my feminine energy, I can control a room better than I can tap into my masculine energy and control a space. Um, I say that to say is like, if people are, you know, going back and forth, or they are having, grappling with the topic, instead of me raising my voice, I speak in a shorter voice, a smaller voice, and people are like, wait, we don't hear you. So you're stopping to listen. Right. And I don't have to be the loudest person in the room to be able to be heard.
Okay, so that's what it means to be masculine. Right? I mean, it's not bad. It's not
I
bad.
don't know. And it really, like, I don't think, and I don't know what it truly means to be masculine. Like, that is an energy that I don't tap into often enough to be able to use it to my advantage, to be able to cultivate a space or a time, or tap into that energy in a way that it is productive for me.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, for me, and I will have a slight rebuttal to what you said. To tap into the feminine energy, Venus. For me, it's about having understanding and compassion. I mean, in the ancestral way, it goes beyond like the stereotypical feminine mother vibe. It's Gaia, Earth. I feel as though that to be feminine is to be one with those around you. It's an energy that is one of of a protector, just a different type of protector. It's I feel it, me personally, I speak in very monotone ways sometimes, so I'm not always in my masculine energy as per your description of it. But I feel as though that I come in with compassion and understanding, really tapping into my feminine energy, to really be within one with everyone around me. I'm not trying to conquer or to be better than, but I'm trying to be a part of, so that's what it means to me. And just to go back on your masculine energy with taking over a room, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of women that can take over them without having to tap into masculine energy and just being a feminine goddess. You can always go with example of like Beyonce. She doesn't even have to say anything. It's just who she is. That energy. You know, Mrs. Obama. She can just step into a room and you know who it is. So I think there are varying levels. Like you have a masculine person that's really trying to uh, be in front of everyone and take something over. Like those guys that talk about what it means to be what is it? Top level man. What is it? What is it? High. What is it? High earning. Something
High,
like
what is it? The high achieving,
high
high,
achieving male, or like this alpha male or stuff like that,
is
where it's
it
like,
top 1% of men? I can't remember the actual name. I know what you're talking about though.
yeah, but I feel as though that trope of this alpha male, this like super masculine man, is something that's completely is unhealthy, toxic to a degree. Especially with, are you allowing the person that you live to be 100% themselves when you're trying to be a domineering personality? I feel as though that when you want that, there are scales of masculinity as there are scales of femininity. Um, like the whole spectrum idea. And, I feel as though like feminine energy is kind of number one, honestly.
Yeah, I think, well, I feel that there's a lot of conversations on Instagram and like on YouTube where it talks about how women are always in their masculine energy where they don't bring peace to a man, right? And I think I think I was listening to the roommates podcast, and they were saying like having a woman like rah 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 all the time, like that's you're bringing whatever you have to be at work to home. And I think that's what gave me that idea of like controlling a space and controlling a room and different things like that. But if we're talking more of like feminine energy, I feel like it's the J. Cole, flower child, beautiful child on your own. Like you're one with nature. You're a flower that's bloomed, that's beautiful, that you can grow through the concrete and still be beautiful, right? If we're going back to Tupac, right? But I think that when a woman taps into their feminine energy, they can start a world war.
Cleopatra.
like, so like I think that we are powerful in that nature to be able to do something like that, because it's so enamoring. It's that energy where it just feels good. Like it's your grandmother's house. It feels good. Like when they cook, when they greet you, like it just feels good, right? Because that woman has tapped into their feminine energy. They're everybody's mother. The block's mother, your cousin's mother, like, and they have learned how to tap into that feminine energy, and no one will disrespect them. Why? Because they have tapped into that energy where no one feels that it is okay to disrespect, to do something in their home, to disrespect anything in their temple.
Yeah, like it's I mean, honestly, it's like someone's trying to step on a heart, and it's like, yeah, like I want this to die, is because the energy is so encompassing and it's so warm, it's loving, it's everyone's mom. It's no one wants to see that rose or that flower wilt or die. So what do? You water that flower, you protect that flower, you make sure that it grows to its apex. So I do agree with that aspect, that feminine energy to love, to truly love, and to care and to provide is something that's comforting, and that's something that's been that has stood the test of time. And to go back to your point about the roommates podcast, I did listen to that piece, and I think that's the last time that I listened to them, because I didn't like the type of ideas that they were spewing about this rah rah. So, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it's all about how your energies match each other. In my time on Earth, I've spoken to quite a few women, and they always say that if the energies are right, and that male or female or whomever brings them peace to in a certain way in that relationship aspect, they will be demure or what's the word I'm looking for? Not demure. What's the word? Submissive. But I think we don't always like that word because it has like a certain connotation. But it's not about submissive and you do what I say. It's just about when we're together, we are peace. Our energies are balanced and there's no need for us to have conflict or things like that. So I think men that see a strong woman or a woman that has tapped into their masculine energy, and they're able to hold their own with other men, they see that as threatening. Um, and it's, why is a man threatened by a quote unquote strong woman? And I think that's something that men have to really look inward and really figure out, why are they so divisive with this strength? What in them is causing them to have this inner conflict, um with a woman who stands on her own feet, who doesn't need her own. I mean, if there's one thing that we're learning about this next generation of women and the generation that's coming up, is they can do bad all by themselves. They don't need a man to pay their bills. They don't need a man to do anything for them. Some of them just want a man to be a companion, a partner, someone to bring them balance. So a lot of men are not tapped into their right energies, and they're taught these like these fallacies of manhood. Like Kendrick Lamar had a fantastic song off his masterpiece, Father Time, where he's speaking about how growing up on his blocks without a father figure, he's taught by the streets and what it means to be a man. And what we know is that a lot of these men who are being raised by men who don't have men around, you have these toxic traits and abilities and like these ideologies about how to treat women. So when they find a woman who isn't going to back down and they have their own, and that man has nothing over her or him, that they can say, oh, you need me for X, you need me for Z. When you are not needed, that energy is very difficult to deal with. And I think that's what men, especially in this day and age, are starting to have a conflict with, because of go-getters like yourself, where you don't need a man for anything. So what can you bring to the table? Like how, stuff like that.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's yes, I as a but I it's hard for me to kind of because there's a twofold there. One, yes, I don't need a man. I don't need anyone to take care of me. Yes, I can take care of myself. And then there's this connotation that Black women have to be this strong woman that has to stand up by herself, do everything by herself. And that is the world that I don't want to live in. Yes, I am a strong woman and I want to be taken care of at the same time. I want someone is someone that cares for me and nurtures me just as much as I nurture and care for them. Like I can do this world by myself, but I don't want to. So like I think what was hard is this, yes, there is this new day and age where women are holding more money than men. Women are making more money than men. Black women have more degrees than our men. So
Amen.
yes, I do understand that this is the day and the age that we live in, and we are not super women. We cannot do it all by ourselves. And I think what is hard is that, and it goes for me as well too. Sometimes like this idea of submissiveness is like, what have you shown me to show my submissiveness? And then it's the flip side of that is, am I always going to be in that masculine energy where they have to go through these battles and these hoops to be able to see that feminine side of me? And I know that was a mouthful, but going off of some of the things that you said, it's just like, I get it. And that is not all of me.
Mhm.
right? I can be both. I can be both masculine in spaces and feminine in spaces, and still get the job done, still make a man feel like a man, still practice submissiveness, still being able to stand up for myself and be a strong woman. I can do all that. And that's all encompassing of who I am.
But I also feel as though it takes a certain type of man who comes in with an understanding of what you just said. That, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think, I would say at least 90%. You know, I'm not even gonna put percentage out there, but I'm gonna say that most women have that feminine energy to be a provider, so a caregiver in some aspect. But again, I think it's a man who isn't understanding that there is an innate ability within not even just women, but men and women to pick up certain characteristics that may or may not be there. So if you find yourself to be enamored with a woman and all of the qualities that you look for in what you see in like the divine feminine or what have you, you should know that you should be understanding enough to pick up uh maybe where there are some gaps. So because it's unfair to put 100% of certain emotions and expectations and duties on a woman just because of these stereotypes that have been fed to us.
Yeah.
So I always joke that I would have no qualms being a house husband. Listen, what you need me to do? You need me to wash the dishes, wash the car, vacuum the house, take care of the kids. I'm fine with that. That's me. But there's a generation of men, and there's men
Mm.
who, speaking from my own experience and just my conversations with men and women, just there's a fear of not being in control and power, and that power dynamic in what it means to be a man, a woman, even like the fluidity of it all, where people don't identify as a man or a woman, and now you have this other confusion of roles. But then that adds even more confusion into, or more need of understanding of picking up where people are lacking. So, like this isn't the 50s and 60s and 70s where there are these distinct roles for a man, for a woman, for a husband, for a wife, but for a partner, you know. So it's I hear you, it's tough, but it takes a lot of conversation and talking to really pick up and pick the best parts of one another and to build on a foundation where there's something that's lacking. And that's where you have to have conversations about expectations
Mm.
and how you see yourselves growing. Because if you come in with just assumptions and also stereotypes, then you'll just get nothing but regret or disappointment,
Yeah.
or like disillusionment on what should have happened. And then you have petty arguments like, why are you not doing this? Like, I don't do this. I don't cook. I don't clean, but I do everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes. I mean, I've had my own thought
Yeah,
process around this, but
I think you speak to like these are conversations that I've had as well. It's the expectations that we put on these roles. Like these gender roles that some people don't even follow in those gender binaries. So like to have an expectation, to have a partnership, to have a relationship, it has to be communicated. And we are so quick to assume people's roles.
mm,
Like if we don't communicate, if I say, okay, um, I don't care if you work. You could be a stay-at-home husband, right? I don't I would be bored if I had to like do that all day, every day, right? I hate cleaning the dishes. That's why I bought a dishwasher when I bought my house. Like that is not my favorite thing to do. Um, and if you could pick that up, then I'll do the laundry or I'll do all the grocery shopping. And it has to be a communication. And I think when we're thinking about, divine femininity, divine masculinity, I think it's fluid. I really do. I think now we are understanding that we are not all alike. There, if I'm tapping into my feminine energy, it doesn't have to be all emotions. It could be, a level of care that comes behind. It could be me, I don't know, walking outside, just sitting in the grass and reading a book and just relaxing and finding my peace. I think really, really that. I think also what I have a hard time with is sometimes I think this femininity and masculinity is also a power thing. Like people feel like they don't want to relinquish power.
Yes.
What does that even mean?
I think that connects back with what I was speaking about earlier, especially from the male gaze and point of view is not a lot of men, but some men, they grow up with this ideal about what a woman is supposed to do, and they're being taught by men and women who come from these backgrounds where this is what they do and this is what they've been told they should do. And a man who's not secure in himself enough to relinquish power, especially to your partner or someone that you quote unquote love, there shouldn't be an issue with giving up that power. But I think it's ingrained in a toxic type of way where they're so unafraid to give that power up that it causes issues, it causes frictions, it causes people to stray away from their relationship or their partner or whomever. It causes people to want to shut them out and to continue to strive to make more money, to be more liked by individuals, to you name it. And it's something that I've come to terms myself that, like, I can say proudly, listen, if my wife is making more than me, that's life, fam. Hey, I made it. Because I know that at the end of the day that we've had the conversations, that we've come to an understanding on what life would be like in such roles, or if she made more money than me, then all right, are you gonna do X? Are you gonna pick up kids? If there are children, are you gonna is there like a percentage that we're gonna pay per bill, or like when we go out to eat, stuff like that? And a lot of people are afraid to let that go. I mean, you'll see it every day. Like, people will really go to quote unquote the bottom of the barrel to deal with somebody because they know that they can have control over them. And that's just not, and that's where hurt people.
Yeah, that's not it. But going back to what you previously said, like people being raised with not having fathers in the home and being raised by the streets, and they have this idea of how they're supposed to how they're supposed to be in a household. And they had no training. Their mother was holding that father role in a sense, like, and if we're still thinking in those binaries and those boxes of roles, and we're not being so fluid of the roles, like they think that is supposed to be their role, but they've only seen a woman do it. Like,
and then imagine if the mother is constantly speaking negatively about the father. So then the ideal about what it means to be a father is a negative aspect in that individual's mind. So when it comes time to potentially produce children, your understanding of what it means to be a father, sometimes you can either stray from the opposite or just continue it, saying, well, my father was always fine, so you'll be all right, random girl or random whatever, random person, just take care of the kid, send some money, I'll be there maybe. So, and a lot of that is like the government stuff, which we're not going to tap into right
Yeah,
now.
definitely not.
But there's that brainwashing of strong Black woman has to be strong all the time, has to work all the time, men ain't ish. And then men be like, oh, I don't really gotta be there because I saw my father like every other week or every few months. He gave me some money. That's a father. And now you have these warped, you know, and now you have these warped mindsets, and then you have damaged little boys and little girls that thrust themselves into relationships thinking one way, and now you move into a cycle that can have dramatic effects on the next generation.
Yes. I.e., everybody go get therapy, please. Work out your issues, please. Um, I wanna get into like, how do you as a man tap into your feminine energy?
I mean, honestly, I listen to some Sade for real. I love me some Sade. No, but I think music, being unafraid to sing about love or to sing about your feelings or even writing poetry, just expressing yourself. I think that's why I like music and the arts is it's this expressionism. It's like, here are my emotions. I don't care. This is how I feel. And allowing yourself to be vulnerable in that expression. I think I would say the vulnerability is the big equalizer, because once you're vulnerable, then you're having conversations because you're open. You have nothing to hide, so you literally just bare. So it's like bearing your soul. That kind of and that actually took me. It's a weird path, but heartbreak helps. And just having real conversations, like like with your people, is saying, "Hey, yo, like this happened to me," and then just talking about where you went wrong and things you could have did better, and was I wrong? And it's really experience. But if you don't want to go through those things, just be open, have conversations. It's okay to cry, tap into your emotions, uh, talk openly, ask questions, and don't have expectations on other people. One thing I always say is that you can give a person the world and they can still spit in your eye the next day, because
Absolutely.
you can't control people's emotions and their reactions. All you can do is control yourself. And if you put your best foot forward, I mean, you can't be mad at the results, because at the end of the day, you cannot control other people.
Yeah.
So if you're honest and true, I mean, you may be hurt a couple of times, but at least you can say, I was as open and vulnerable and honest as possible, and it just didn't work out. Live with the results. But that's
Yeah.
me.
I think that's wonderful. And I think enough of us don't do that, right? Because we're afraid to do that. We're afraid to be raw and just be open with people. And those have created some of the most, I feel like the best relationships that I've had, with friends, with family members, with significant others. Like, those are some of the things that really, you don't regret. Like, I don't regret, because at the end of the day, like, I laid it all on the table. I showed myself of who I am, and um all my wounds, and you either accept them or you don't.
That's it. Yeah, and to get rid of in your mind what it means to be a man, or like what it means to be a woman. Once you
Mm,
get rid of those societal expectations, that's when you can tap into who you really are and say, oh, I enjoy, like, for instance, I enjoy cook. Well, not me particularly, but as an example, I enjoy cooking. Let me cook. It's okay if the person that I talk to doesn't cook, because I enjoy cooking. I enjoy cleaning. I enjoy doing these things. It doesn't make me any less of a man. It just makes me someone that is multifaceted. I'm not one dimensional. I'm not going to just go out and go grind and get something, because that always won't work. I mean, money only solves so much. in so many issues. That, I mean, they say money doesn't buy happiness. I think money buys is, I think money buys flexibility
Mm,
and uh, less stress and pressure,
yeah.
because now you can focus on what makes you innately happy as a human being. Once you don't have to worry about food, shelter, uh, other things that cost money, I don't know, debt, hopefully you don't have any. I think that's when people become the truest forms of themselves. Because I think in this rat race, especially in America, trying to survive, a lot of us are thrusted into roles that we're not destined for. And that
Yeah.
causes us a lot of strife and dismay instead of us really trying to examine who we really are. Yeah.
And I think for me, like when I am the only child, but like being on my own and being able to make my own and figure out what I like outside of my parents' house, like what I like, what I don't like, what do I appreciate? Um, like most of the things that I appreciate, yeah, I did learn from my family. Like I love to bake. Yeah, you can say that's a standard, woman's role, but I like to bake and I like to cook. Those I like food. So ultimately, I'm going to learn how to make food.
Mm-hmm.
But that is something that when I was in the household, I didn't learn how to cook until I went to college. Like I did not know how to cook at all until I went to college. I knew how to bake, but no one was eating sweets all day or like desserts and bread all day. So I had to teach myself how to cook once I got to college. Because in my head, I was like, my parents are doing it for me. Why I have to learn? Like, what? And then I realized that all my friends was eating top ramen and peanut butter and jellies, and I didn't eat like that. So I had to figure
Hey,
it out.
hey man, hey man, I was surviving on that. Let me tell you.
But you could say that that's a standard quote unquote feminine role that I picked up. But then you think about men that live on their by themselves. They got to learn how to cook. They got to learn how to do their laundry and do all these things. And I know some girls that can't cook. All my homegirls can, but I do know a few girls that can't cook. They rather order out, get taken out, and things like that. And it's the world
Not
we
the
live in.
not the meal dates, but that's another
Oh,
topic. Anyways.
that's another topic. Don't say you never done it.
I mean, also that goes into like health as well. I mean,
Yeah.
because if you can cook your own food, then you're healthier, which leads to, healthier skin, which is like body, like a positive image of yourself and mental health. So learning how to cook is important, and learning to know what's going in your body is important, but that's not here or there. And free dates, listen, this ain't about me, because
It's not about you.
it's not
So
about me.
what do you think, like, if you had, let's say you had a son,
Yep.
right? How would you teach your son how to tap into his feminine energy and his masculine energy?
I say cry. Don't be afraid to cry. I think when I was like 16, I didn't cry for like 8 years. And you don't realize how unhealthy that is because like men aren't supposed to cry or show emotion or do XYZ. And it's like that stuff hangs on your heart.
Mm,
And I always imagine it as like this black pit is where it's just sitting on my heart, where like all of my sadness, my anger, everything goes. I don't unleash it. It just goes like this. It's just there and it just stays there. So like you feel as though that you always have this heaviness on your heart. But fortunately, I like to write poetry. So I expressed myself through words. And that allowed me to really get everything off my chest. Once I let my peers read my work, that's when all of the walls fell down. So as I'm writing, you know, a brick here, a brick there, starting poking through. But then once I compiled, probably like, well, like I did in stages. So maybe every few months, I would ask my friends, like, hey, can you take a look at this? And seeing them read it and they look at you and they're like, wow, like you've gone through this, or like you felt this way, like how are you feeling? And then just having those conversations. I think also, you know, when someone asks you, hey, how are you doing? Just like, hey, I'm not doing okay. Or so and so. And that's when you really start to understand who cares about you. And I think once I started being real with myself, when people say, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm not doing so well. It allowed me to really break those tropes of men not speaking about emotions. And, you know, they say that showing emotion is what women do. Well, hell, call me a woman. I'm out here living both sides. Like, I need to be like water, like Bruce Lee, you know, be like water in a flow and be able to crash and be able to form and to be able to uh and you know hold all of these experiences but also express it, because I mean, like, without expression there was no art. And as I said before, I love the arts. So you can call it what it is. If being expressive with your hand movements and all that stuff is feminine, then sure, that's me. Hey, it's about being, it's, I mean, ultimately it's about being a healthy human being. You can't hold on to a lot on your heart. It's not good for you. So if women talk and talk about their emotions and things like that, then I think the best way to do, again, to answer your question, I know it's a long way around, but I would just say, I would say, don't be afraid to cry. Ask questions. Tell me how you feel.
I love
Once you
that.
do that, you're golden. Because if you're upset, you'll cry, then you release those emotions. If you ask questions, you have deeper conversations that may break down some barriers that you may have that's holding you back. And if you are just open to transforming, then you'll transform. I forgot the third part, but if you do that, you'll be fine. And that's the way that I see it, because it's really helped me as I've grown into like the later stages of my 20s and early 30s. That's what I would say to myself.
Yeah. You should definitely publish your poetry one day. We would love to read it.
Absolutely. It's going to be an anthology. I have 3 parts, from my late teenage years to my early 20s to my late 20s. So I'll definitely have that out sometime within 22. So big
Okay.
changes in 22. I can't wait to share more with everyone.
That's exciting.
Mhm.
I'm thinking like,
How about you? If you had a daughter, what would you tell your daughter to tap into her masculine side?
um, what would I tell my daughter to tap into her masculine side? Um, I would tell her that the world is what she makes of it, and that everything that she touches can turn to gold. And that's it.
Okay. Hella ambiguous, but I like it. I like it. Okay. Everything touch turns to gold.
I,
Why? Why,
I,
mom?
well, I think I would have her like write it down, but because I feel like she would understand it later because that's how my mind works. But I think that I associate masculinity with like, and maybe it's just me. I associate masculinity and with like strength and like success and power. And that's why I think like she has the ability to do whatever she wants in life. Like the world is her oyster in a sense, and
Okay.
anything that she touches can turn to gold.
I can see it. So if there's a barrier in her way, she'd be like, oh, yeah, I can break through this. This is, but you're a woman. What? All right, cool. Okay, I get it. Okay, I see it. Yeah. it's short, but it encompasses, just don't stop. Keep
Yeah.
pushing forward, regardless of what is in front of you. If they say you can't do it, I can do anything I want.
Yeah. And that is really like how my mother raised me. Like she didn't tell me that no was a like we're not saying like no and like Title IX and stuff like that, but we're saying like no was like that wasn't like a word that I associated with. There was no barrier, no challenge that I could not overcome. Yes, there was a lot of learning along the way, and maybe a lot of detours around along the way. But anything that I wanted and anything that I strive for, I could get. And there was no that stood in my way.
We already know that, President. We already know that.
No, no, but I really do
President
think
founder.
I really do think that sometimes we stifle young Black girls and boys with what we had been conditioned to think as roadblocks in our life, right? Like we say, well, you can't do this because of blah blah blah, because of an experience we had or experience someone else, another person of color had, instead of saying, yeah, that could happen, or you can go around, or you can go through. And like nothing you can't achieve, nothing you can't do. I think there's a lot of times that we do that to young boys and girls. So almost telling them no before they even fail or learn to fail.
All right. So I would ask you this. Given the scope of what it means to be a man or woman in this new day and age where people are empowered to take control of their identity, do you see what it means to be masculine and what it means to be feminine and outdated? Will they become outdated tropes within the next several years?
Absolutely. Like it's outdated now. I don't think it's like future tense that it's going to be outdated in future tense. I think it's the present tense. It's outdated. Like how we think about how we were conditioned to think. I have girlfriends to this day, they say that they won't date a man that doesn't make what they make or equivalent. Well, baby, you make too much. I'm sorry. Majority of Black men, if you want a Black man, majority of Black men don't make what you make. I'm sorry.
To majority of people.
Right?
You know?
There's and it has, and I have to say that like our people will get me. Sometimes our standards are unrealistic. I'm sorry.
Everything I touch will turn to gold. So if I want it, that's what I want.
Yes, I'm saying that, and the idea of success and different things like that. I'm not saying like you're gonna want a man that makes that 6 foot, over 6 feet, tall, dark, and handsome, that makes over six figures, and like see, like there's you're like we're almost there, right? Like I think that we as women, and I'm speaking me as a woman, we as women, we have to be more realistic about our expectations and our idea of what these roles are or supposed to be. We just need to get with someone, have an agreement, have our agreements of our expectations, and say, okay, this is how we are going to do it. not how everybody else thinks that it should be done. And most of the women giving you advice are single and haven't had a man in a very long time. So stop listening to them. I'm so
This is
sorry.
loud.
I'm loud, but I'm serious. Like, stop listening to them. Like, I have women in my family that have raised women, and they are women, and there's no men that have been in their life to, and they're trying to condition their daughters or nieces of how things are supposed to be. Well, it's not that way for you. Like, how can you tell them how something is supposed to be if you never concealed that in your own household? You never had that in your own household. I think that if two people find peace with one another, that's how it should be. Like, at this day and age, in my early 30s, yes, I'll say it right out loud. In my early 30s, all I want is peace. Peace in my household, peace in my life. I pay extra for peace at the airport. I pay extra for peace on deliveries. Like, I'm that's all I want. If we can agree and we can come to an agreement in a household and we can say, okay, this is how we're going to do it, fuck what the rest of the world has to say. Like,
Okay.
I don't care. They don't pay my bills. They're not next to me at the end of the night. Like, don't care. If we have a unit and it's good and it's peaceful, that's all I want.
And I would say, as a man, just come in without expectations, be open, be vulnerable, listen, and be able to conform and learn new skills. You know,
When you say conform, what do you mean?
I mean, like, don't be rigid. You know, be able to flow, be like water, be able to take a new shape. Don't, like, if you're Play-Doh, you should be able to be anything: a star, a ball, a rectangle, a 99 sided object. You should be able to be everything. You should be able to conform to a situation that benefits you. But if you're going to be rigid to a situation that can benefit you,
It's not going
why?
to benefit you.
Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, again, it's all about the energy. Like, we're not even gonna say masculine, I'm not gonna say feminine. It's the energy, because the energy, uh it flows so much in a circular pattern, like the shapes of the universe. It's the spiral.
Mhm.
I forget the scientific name. Probably insert that maybe here. But it's a spiral, it's a circle, it's this continual evolution. um it doesn't deviate. It's very constant, and this is ever flowing change. So again, on both parties, just come in ready to change. Not for the worse, but for the better. You would hope that the person that you're inviting to your domain, to your space, to your energy, will fit your rhythm,
Mhm.
so, like, don't let no one disrupt your rhythm. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah, you could drop the mic right there.